set myself as a consultant. And I actually did, and I carried a number of training courses using the bridge curriculum that I mentioned a little earlier. And I worked for a number of civil society organizations, intergovernmental organizations, election management bodies in Tanzania, in South Africa, in Malawi, in different places, just for purposes of training, for purposes of advising and doing consultancy work. After that, Madam Chairperson, I went to work for the United Nations Development Program, the Governance and Democracy Program in South Sudan. This was a short-term consultancy where I used the bridge curriculum to train trainers in the original 10 states of South Sudan. And it is from there that I appreciated how fortunate a country like Kenya is, where we have peace, where we have opportunities, and where we have political stability and the meaning of that. Before that, actually, there's something I learned from being an observer in South Africa in 1994. I got an opportunity through the World Council of Churches to go and observe that election. Madam Chairperson, there is one lesson that endures with me to date, and that is the importance of universal suffrage. It was the first time Black people were, Africans were participating in an election in their own country. And to see sick people and old people and people who were frail wanting to go out to vote, it really made me appreciate the things that we always take for granted. And therefore, Madam Chairperson, while I was in South Sudan, I was invited, I was headhunted to go and support the panel of the Secretary General of United Nations for the referenda in South Sudan and Abyei. And this was headed by Kappa. And there, Madam Chairperson, I was in charge of out-of-country voting. And from there, Madam Chairperson and distinguished panelist, I got the opportunity of, I want to just steadily move forward. I learned many things there about organizing, about being, about planning, and also about communicating, and about providing leadership, strategic leadership, and working with others. I came back and I was the next useful position that really displayed and taught me a lot was my position at the United Nations when I was appointed Kenya's ambassador and deputy permanent representative in New York. There, Madam Chairperson, we worked with 193 member states, used 6 languages, and interacted with people from different cultures, with varied interests. And it was important for us to find who we needed to ally ourselves with in order to advance Kenya's national interests. Each one of all the member states were depending on instructions from capital, and therefore to lobby, therefore to build trust, to build consensus, and to bring them to support your cause and to negotiate with you in good faith took a lot of tactics, because it was important. But what was also interesting is that's when I learned to work under pressure. And Madam Chairperson, I hope with this introduction to myself, I have set the stage to be able to answer the questions from distinguished panelists and yourself. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Balozi. Allow me to ask you if you are a registered voter.
Yes, Madam Chairperson, I learned the importance of voting from 1992. And I have participated in a lot of by-elections as well. And yes, I am a registered voter, and I last voted in 26th of October, 2017, in my village at a school called Kwangendo Secondary School.
Thank you so much. I will now request Mr. Morris Kimuli to ask you a few questions.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Koki.
Yes. Mr.
Can I call you
Kimuli.
Koki?
Yes, please.
If there is a bar to participation of state officers in elections, does a state officer include the president?
Yes, but the president is exempt under the Constitution, the deputy, the president, the deputy, and members of parliament.
Is the president allowed to use state resources in political party campaigns?
No, not directly. But when you are president, you don't cease to be president. You will have security with you. You will have some of the trappings of power to be able, because we need to protect our president.
If a president is running for re-election and he's campaigning and he is using state vehicles and is supplying state machinery, do you think there is a breach of the law and the Constitution?
Supplying state machinery, yes.
So if you are a commissioner and you see a fleet of GK vehicles a few days to the election and the president is campaigning, does the commission have any powers to deal with that?
Under the law, there are certain things that the commission needs to. Yes, the answer is yes.
What powers?
Well, the business of managing the electoral process is a business of the commission. And there are certain specific, especially in the phase of campaigning, there are certain parameters.
I'm just asking a very straight question. A fleet of GK vehicles and apparently being employed by state officers accompanying the president a few days to the election, what power does the commission have by law?
To point out.
Just to point out? Lip service?
A lot of times, what certain organizations can do is to point out some of the things that are not being done in accordance with the law and urge the particular agency of the government that is supposed to undertake that responsibility.
So in your view, then, in those circumstances, the commission would be a lame duck commission. It will only point out that this is wrong.
It's not being a lame duck commission. It is, how do you say, it is doing your duty through the other agencies of the state that you can work with.
Oh, that's all right. If you look at Section 107, the Commission has expressed powers to impound state resources that are being used in campaigns. Now, let us look at Article 83 of the Constitution, and you have the Constitution there, Koki. Article 83 is on the right of a person to be registered as a voter.
Yes.
And there are circumstances where somebody would be barred from registering as a voter. And I just want to highlight two from Article 83 of the Constitution. And one of them is if you have been declared of unsound mind, you know that?
Yes.
If you are declared of unsound mind, you have no right, you will be barred from registering as a voter.
Yes.
What is the obligation of the Commission with respect to that sub-article?
The declaration of unsoundness of mind.
It is the Commission. Let me just guide you so that maybe I'm not clear. The Commission is the one that registers voters.
Yes.
The Constitution says you shall not be registered as a voter if you are of unsound mind. How does the Commission, on behalf of Kenyans, enforce that provision of the Constitution?
The Constitution, the Commission verifies that declaration that the person is of unsound mind and does not register because the voter is not qualified to be put in the voters' roll.
Are you aware that registration of voters is done at the grassroots? Sometimes within a church compound when IEBC declares universal voter registration?
Yes, I am aware.
This person will find a clerk and will come with their documents. In those circumstances, how does the Commission enforce that duty to ensure that only people of sound mind register as voters?
You are right, Mr. Kimuli. All the officials, the registration officials, the election officials, and the staff of the Commission go through training before they undertake the different tasks that are the mandate of the Commission.
Yeah, so what I'm asking is, because we don't have a lot of time, what I'm asking is, now you are at the Commission, you have trained these people. What have you taught them they should do to ensure that they don't register people of unsound mind?
Is to make sure that whoever is on the ground registering first gets the right documentation to ascertain eligibility of the voter. If an individual presents themselves, it is easy to know, it may be or may be not easy to identify that person as being of unsound mind. If a person presents themselves with the right documentation and a clerk establishes the eligibility, that person, unless they display incredible signs of being unsound, in which case there will be someone on the ground to assist to identify that. But it is not always the case that somebody of unsound mind carries their documentation to show that they are of unsound mind.
But for just clarity, the Commission does not have psychiatrists on the ground.
No.
The Commission does not require a clearance by a doctor before you register?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. Now,
that's why, given the opportunity afterwards, when you can verify the people who are entering into the register, because when you go to register, you first fill a form, and then that form is the details are captured in another document, and then after that, the BVR. Through those processes, before you get the acknowledgement slip, there will be a determination of the person that you are registering. And afterwards, there is a process of cleaning the register, updating it, and verifying if the people who are in the roll are actually eligible to be in the roll.
So you don't think that all of us should be required to get, in accordance with that article, all of us should be required to come to the polling station with a clearance from the hospital that you are of sound mind, the way we get clearance from other agencies?
No.
No, okay, fine. Let me move on. The second reason why you would be barred is if you have been convicted of an election offense within the last 5 years. Is there a framework for a registration clerk at the local level, at the grassroots, at Kavise Primary School, or Kiambaa Primary School, where I went to school, for those registration clerks to determine that this person has been convicted, so they can tell him, you would not be registered? Is there a framework?
I am not very certain about that, but I can tell you something for sure. When you are registering, you are a clerk registering a voter at Kiambaa Primary School, you will be able to know because there are certain committees that actually help ascertain who is coming to register and so on. And in fact, the clerks go out, as you say, sometimes to the church compounds to do that. Everybody in Kiambaa will know if you have been convicted of an election offense. And that is one way of verifying, of course.
If you have been convicted of an election offense and you have appealed and the appeal has not yet been determined, do you qualify to register as a voter?
Yes.
Will the registration clerk and everybody at Kanyangi also be able to know that your appeal has not been determined?
Maybe not necessarily, but
Not
you're
necessarily.
presenting yourself there, and they will be able to know from Kanyangi
Now,
something is going on.
if an election takes place in a county, an election takes place in Kitui County, a massive turnout, 400,000 voters, the difference between the winner and the second candidate is 3 votes. And ultimately, we discover in Kitui County, 20 people of unsound mind voted. Do you think that invalidates the results?
When you discover, yes.
It would invalidate the results.
Yes, because it will, well, not necessarily invalidate, but it will call to question the veracity of who won that election, and therefore kick into progress the next steps when such a situation occurs.
So if that is found to have been the case after the election, do you consider that to be an irregularity that would invalidate an election, and who would be to blame for that irregularity?
It's not necessarily an irregularity unless it could be an honest mistake, unless it was deliberate to influence the outcome of that election. And of course, IEBC is responsible for that.
Perhaps just one more question. In election petition determinations, this is a basic question. Do you know what the standard of proof is if you have to prove irregularities? What is the standard of proof in election petitions?
No, actually, I don't know specifically because I've not really practiced in that area. But I generally would. I am not sure. I think I know, but I'm not certain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the Raila Odinga case, the Supreme Court said that the standard of proof is slightly above balance of probabilities, but it is below reasonable proof beyond reasonable doubt. It's an intermediate standard, but where there are electoral offenses, the standard is beyond reasonable doubt. Thank you very much. All the best, Koki, and thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Kimuli.
Thank you, Mr. Kimuli. I'll now request Dr. F.S. Abdallah to ask you a few questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Your Excellency, please confirm to us that you are the Kenyan ambassador and the Deputy Permanent Representative of the Kenyan Mission in the United Nations in New York.
Yes, I was, Dr. Abdallah.
Could you please tell us for how long you served in this position?
6 years and 7 months, or thereabouts, yes. I was appointed in 2012 in December.
Good. And now, my interpretation as to an ambassador is the president's highest ranking representative to a specific nation or international organization abroad. The key role of an ambassador is to coordinate the activities not only of the foreign services, but also on commercial activities.
That's correct,
Right.
Dr. Abdallah.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency. Now, please tell us, and Kenyan as a whole, what was your job description and what were you doing in that position?
Thank you, Dr. Abdallah. May I respectfully suggest that you may refer to me as Balozi, because protocol-wise, when you are in your country, excellency is reserved for the head of state, who is our number one diplomat. So,
What's Balozi in English? Ambassador.
Ambassador.
Okay.
Excellency is a title that we defer to the
Very well,
appointing
we'll do
authority.
that. We'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you. My job description at the Kenya mission to the United Nations involved first as head of Chancery and subsequently as supervisor of the head of Chancery. And that entailed being in charge of the welfare of the staff and administrative processes and procedures, such as ensuring every staff member had an annual plan, because we all signed performance contracting, and therefore it was important for each staff member and their committee to have a strategy on how to advance the policy, the Kenya's foreign policy, and safeguard the interests of our country. I was also in charge of coordinating committees. Dr. Abdallah, let me explain a little bit about how the United Nations headquarters operated. The General Assembly...
Sorry to interrupt you, Balozi. The aim of this question is the next question will be, what do you pride yourself of having done in the development of your country and to your position? So the choice is yours. Either you choose to tell us about the staff organization or tell the Kenyans what do you pride yourself with.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I coordinated the 6 committees of the General Assembly, and Kenya was recognized and given a lot of leadership positions. In Kenya, in New York, Kenya, in collaboration or in partnership with Hungary and Ireland, we led a process that gave the world sustainable development goals that replaced Millennium Development Goals in 2015. That was a big achievement because that's a framework within which the entire universe is advancing the course of development. We also participated, and I was involved, as we say, participated. Kenya is a medium country at the United Nations. We had a small team of very dedicated, very committed staff that really punched above their weight. And we were able to deliver and even out-deliver on the deliverables and that were given by our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In addition to economic advancement, we also advanced peace initiatives, including peace building and peacekeeping processes in terms of policy framework. We negotiated a lot of resolutions which not only advanced Kenya's interest, they advanced Africa's interest and put Africa and Kenya on the map. And personally, I was in charge of a number of processes. For example, I served in the Commission for the Status of Women, where I was a vice chair on behalf of Africa. I was also the vice president of UN Women Executive Board on behalf of the African group. And during just before I left, I was facilitator of the outcome document for the Commission of Status of Women. It is a member state-driven initiative which allows men and women to advance gender equality, the empowerment of women through adopting certain policies and outcome documents that advance different thematic issues. And I was able to facilitate that process to build bridges and consensus between member states and to bring people with differing interests, people with different instructions from their capital, and people with a different outlook to what we wanted to achieve, to focus on the ball and to be able to achieve the objective that we set ourselves with. And I pride myself for achieving quite a lot and for serving Kenya. But what is so also important is that I got an opportunity that I believe is rare to make this network, to serve my country, to realize my patriotism, and to know that I can be able to contribute to putting Kenya on the map, and also to putting us on the edge. And I finally, Dr. Abdallah, I worked really hard and participated in the teams within our own mission to realize the election of Kenya as a non-permanent member of the Security Council. And in fact, I remained in New York after the end of my tour of duty, because at the time when my
maithori mau urona magĩita nĩ magĩkeno na ũrĩa thitimũrano ĩno ĩkoretwo ĩtariĩ na hau kabere Marita haraka kuna process nyingine tumalize. Pigia reporter. Mimi hata unapigia reporter niambie. Tafadhali Marita haraka kuna process nyingine tuende mbele. Congrats, Muhesh. Wale wako nyuma kidogo. Mayoki wataniona tunataka kwenda live na Kawanjiko sana. Tunataka kwenda live na Kawanjiko. Tuanze na SG. SG, labda utuambie nyinyi mmepokelea ushindi huu namna gani, na baada ya tumengoja kutoka asubuhi tumeweza kuona sanduku la mwisho limefunguliwa. Je, ushindi huu mmepokea namna gani?
We are very grateful to God first of all because of this victory, and we know God has done it for us. It is the fair thing, it's the just thing, because John Wanjiko won this battle. He won the poll. We have patiently waited for quite a number of hours, overnight until now, but we are grateful that finally the returning officer has made his verdict and decided to open that ballot box and remove the form that needed to be used for the final tally. It was the final polling station. So we are grateful to God. I congratulate my brother here. He's very emotional. I congratulate him, the MP-elect for Kiambaa constituency. And we are grateful to God. He's a young man. I believe he will deliver on the promise. We thank all our supporters, everybody who walked the journey with us, all those who have supported us on social media, supported us even in the campaign with finances, supported us with the meetings, attending, encouraging and mentoring our young MP. We are grateful. We say thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you. We are excited. We just say our God is great.
We saw you travel at night yesterday at Mogoga concerning the same issue of a ballot box, that the stalemate that has put us here for more than 5 hours. What would you comment on the election, and especially those hiccups that we witnessed yesterday in Mogoga and here in Kiambaa concerning the opening of ballot boxes when they have already been sealed?
There were very many hiccups in this election. There was heavy voter bribery that happened yesterday. There were police officers everywhere, but we are grateful that they maintained peace. We did not have any issues that we could say that the police officers intimidated us or harassed us, but they seem to have had a mandate to maintain peace, to maintain law and order, and we are grateful for that. We had an issue in Mogoga of verifying the result that was being read for the people. And the arrow once again allowed us to just be sure that the results were the correct results. And we actually did not win. We lost by a very small margin, I think about 27 votes. And we graciously accepted that we did not make it in Mogoga. And we live to fight another day in Mogoga. It's only 1 year and we'll be back and still have a candidate for the same position that we did not make it yesterday. Elections are about winning or losing sometimes. And it's not a must that somebody should feel entitled that they must win. It could be that priorities have changed with Wananchi and maybe they want a different leader. I think the gracious thing, the comfortable thing, the constitutional way is to accept the result, especially when the election is fair, free, it's verifiable, it's accountable. If it's a process that's accountable, agents have represented your interests, I think people should accept the verdict of the IEBC.
We saw you yesterday write a letter to the IEBC concerning some of the few issues, and like the stalemate we have had here, it has taken IEBC quite some time to resolve that stalemate. What would you comment as a party on how IEBC conducted both elections here in Kiambaa and in Mogoga?
I would say that IEBC has improved a lot. I have seen they have walked milestones, because even yesterday when we had a hiccup with the badges, they were able to process all the agents for all the political parties until the badges were there. Because ideally, a system is as good as the process that is behind it. And especially when the system is not being used by either one side or the other side. Because when the citizens perceive that maybe one side is being favored or there is a bias of sorts, that's when people become uncomfortable. But as long as IEBC stands firm, follows the same rules, uses the same and applies to all across the board, then they will continue improving. So I would say that I think IEBC has improved. There is still work to be done, but I think they have improved a lot. And we continue to support an institution that is independent, an institution that can make its own verdict without being influenced by any stakeholders.
Now, he's the first MP for UDA party in the National Assembly. We have seen some hiccups here and some complaints, some Jubilee party members affiliated to UDA. Now we have one member of National Assembly for UDA. So what message would you like to send out there?
First, to our firstborn here, it gives us such great joy. Amen. We are excited. We thank God. We are excited. We thank God that we've been able to get an MP elect. We are very happy about that. And I would say to all our aspirants, feel free to come to UDA. I welcome you as a Secretary General. We will have free and fair processes, verifiable. You'll be accountable in what we are doing with our aspirants, and we will continue capacity building. And we are not know-it-alls at UDA. We appreciate any contributions in terms of ideas that are given by members. So we welcome your ideas, we welcome your views on how you would want the party to be managed and to be run. So I would want to just say it's an open door for all the aspirants as we head towards 2022. The party has been doing a lot of preparation towards the general election for 2022. So karibu, we can build together.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Now,
Yeah.
the attention should move to the real man of the hour.
Please Mheshimiwa, tell us something.
Unavyojihisi tu baada ya matokeo ya mwisho ama kuonekana pale?
Wacha ni kwanza nichukue nafasi hii nishukuru Mungu kwa sababu imekuwa safari mrefu, tumetembea na finally Mungu ametupa ushindi, maana jinsi ambavyo mmeona it has been a journey. But I want to thank God and also the Kiambaa people, for entrusting me with their votes and also for giving me an opportunity to serve them as their member of parliament for the next 1 year. And also take this opportunity to thank, my party and the Secretary General and the officials of the party, the members of parliament who have been supporting me, the members of Kiambaa constituency, and even friends and the families that have been there to support me. It has been a tough journey, as you saw yesterday. We tried as much as we can, but there was a lot of voter bribery, a lot of intimidations. But finally, God has granted us the victory. So we are so happy, and the mandate that I have is now to deliver to the people of Kiambaa whatever I promised them, and I know it's going to be a journey, but I know God is together with us. More so, I want to take these opportunities to thank everybody who has been there and who have been supporting me. And especially the Deputy President, he has been very helpful, and even to the Hustler Nation, because we are telling them that the Hustler Nation is real, giving me an opportunity, having come from a family that is not known, having come from a very humble background, entrusting me with the candidature and giving me to become an aspirant and to be the candidate for the UDA. It's not that easy, but we can tell the Kenyans wherever they are that Hustler Nation is real, and they don't intimidate, they don't, hawana ubaguzi, but they give each and every one of us equal opportunity, to exercise, the democratic rights that we have as a nation. And I want to call them wherever they are, those who have not been with us, the Hustler Nation, please come in. This is the real thing, and it is the future of this country. I think I was a bit emotional because it has been tough, fighting, the Jubilee government that has been there, the Jubilee part that has been there, and also us trying what we can. You had seen some minutes ago, the police commander, regional commander, they were all here to intimidate the IEBC. But having known where I've come from, it has not been an easy journey. But I also want to encourage the young people, wherever you are, as long as you have a vision, as long as you can dream, continue dreaming, because this is a dream come true.
Mheshimiwa, you are.
Yeah, sure.
What do you want to the opponents?
Yeah.
What do you tell the opponents?
Let us first. No, I think in every election there is a winning and there is a losing. So, but we are all winners because we had participated in this election. Even having the courage to participate in an election, it is a good thing. So I will just call them and ask them that we join hands together and build Kiambaa together and we move forward.
One last one. There are people who never knew Kiambaa existed in this country. Now Kiambaa has been brought to the limelight of the country. We have not seen cases of violence like we have seen in other by-elections. What kind of Kiambaa do you promise Kenyans to see in the near future?
No, Kiambaa, we have been very peaceful. Even all the times that we have been having elections, we have never had violence. But yesterday there were people who came from outside Kiambaa who were trying to cause commotions here and there. But the Kiambaa people took charge. We conducted our election in a peaceful manner. As Alao had said before we started the election, he had given an order that no member of parliament should be allowed to be in any polling center, and we heed to that call. So no member of parliament who was supporting me was anywhere within Kiambaa. And we allowed the Kiambaa people to exercise their democratic right. So therefore, Kiambaa is a peaceful country, is a peaceful constituency, and I can tell you that it is a place to invest in. We all call those people who really have a good faith, and we all know that Kiambaa is a good place, and we are peaceful people, and we coexist with each other.
SG, tying to that, this win for the UDA comes even as the general election just draws closer. What are the lessons you've learned as a party that prepares for the next battle on August 8th?
I believe the political domain has radically shifted. It's much more harder to clinch a seat. And it is us ourselves who have made it like that. Number one, the heavy voter bribery. That is a disadvantage to all because number one, handouts do not help anybody. They do not have the ultimate help to the citizen. So I wish we could work together with the Wananchi to stop this kind of, use of voter bribery as a way of coercing people or influencing people to vote a certain candidate. And then number two, I noticed a very difficult trend that has emerged from the Ministry of Interior. Because why were the chiefs commissioned to go to the polling centers? And some were either very naively positioning themselves inside the polling center. I think that can cause a big shame to our nation. I would beseech the chiefs, who are our brothers, our fathers, and people who live among us, who are part of our community, please don't accept to do this again, because that's not part of your mandate. A polling center or a polling station is within the mandate of IEBC. It is controlled and manned by IEBC. Even the police officers are only supposed to restore security and assist the IEBC to dispense their mandate. So when a chief in uniform, honestly, in uniform is spotted inside the police station or outside giving money, within the centers, I think that was a very embarrassing moment for the nation of Kenya. And I will request the Ministry of Interior to reconsider such a position in future. Don't do it. Allow people to vote freely and without intimidation and without almost saying the chief is having a notebook marking who is coming to vote so that later they can ask, nawe Mama Nyambura, uliwekea nani kura yako? That is not good at all. It's intimidation. And then the voter, our voter is a very humble person in Kenya. So when you put a chief there, for my grandmom, when she walks into the station, she even feels almost compelled to please the chief by voting to the candidate the chief owns. And unfortunately, they were even voicing and saying, can we vote for so-and-so? I think that should be stopped. Simuache arau sasa.
Yes, Maura. Yes. If you are joining us right now, what we can see on this board of the IEBC, what has been projected, is that Wanjiko John Jogona of UDA party is an MP-elect for Kiambaa constituency, having garnered 21,773 votes, signifying a 50% win. That is half of the voters who turned out to vote for this by-election. We have seen that 43,700 votes were cast out of 96,020 voters who were registered in this polling in this constituency. 154 polling stations, all of them have reported their results. Kareri Njama becomes number 2 with 21,263 votes, signifying a 49%, with the third who has emerged position 3, Geshia Evans Wainaina, 80 votes, and Goge Richard Joroge, 65 votes, and closing the top 5 candidates is Mushugi Isaac Karomo of PPK party with 47 votes. So our dear viewer, that is what has been happening in Kiambaa constituency. Remember, we have been here since Wednesday bringing you live updates on what has been happening in Kiambaa. Remember, the tallying of votes was temporarily halted yesterday after the Jubilee party raised concerns of some of ballot boxes from 3 polling stations, from Moshadha, from Dendero, and one from Gashie. But one from Moshadha, the IEBC wanted, Jubilee Party wanted a recount, but the RO clearly stated that he has no mandate of initiating a recounting of votes, especially in a tallying center. What happens in a tallying center is bringing together all votes that are coming from different polling stations. So that is the situation here. John Njuguna Wanjiku of UDA party is the MP-elect for Kiambaa constituency. Any moment from now, he will be handed his certificate by the returning officer here. And probably our viewer would like to speak to the chief agent of John Njuguna Wanjiku, Peter Mushendu. He tells us how the journey was. Mushendu, it has been a busy day yesterday, a whole night of counting the votes, some frustrations here and there. What would you comment on the final outcome of this election?
First of all, despite being tired, despite, for someone who saw me the day before yesterday, you would realize I have not changed my clothes. But it has all been for this cause, to ensure that we protect our win. We do not want any favor from anybody. All we have always wanted is the IEBC to actually make a credible, fair election in Kiambaa. And for this, we want to commend them, because the wisdom finally has prevailed, despite the 7-hour stalemate that has delayed these results. Wisdom of the IEBC has prevailed, and we want to ask our opponent. Last night, UDA had fielded a candidate in Mogoga ward by-election. We lost that election by 27 votes. And because we are Democrats, we believe in democracy, we conceded gracefully and admitted the fact that Mungara, the Jubilee candidate, has won Mogoga. We also equally ask the same. This is the same referee that was in Mogoga. He has used the mechanism that are above board to have our candidate emerge the winner. And therefore, we want to ask our opponent to really come together, because they are people of Kiambaa. They come together, they work for Kiambaa, because even if today you decide to go for a petition in court, by the time your petition is decided, it will be overtaken by event, because next year in August we have a general election. So we want to thank God first because of this win. We also want to thank Njuguna for being a great candidate. He is a young man who comes from a very humble background. One of our pillars in the Hustler Nation is that God can be able to raise you from nothing to something. And Njuguna becomes a classic example, born in a family of a single mother and having to have less money to educate himself. He is a classic example of the possibilities in this nation.
Thank you so much. That is Peter Mushendu, the chief agent for UDA candidate John Njuguna Wanjiku, who is now the MP-elect for Kiambaa constituency. And maybe to recap what has happened, some few minutes ago, we saw the presiding officer of one of the stations in Moshadha polling center being brought here at the main tallying center to come and open one of the ballot boxes where Form 34A was stuffed. Remember, the presiding officer did not leave Form 34A with the returning officer, and therefore results could not have been announced. And so when she made her way in here, the ballot box was reopened and the results were announced by the returning officer, therefore making John Njuguna the UDA candidate to become the MP-elect for Kiambaa constituency with 21,773 votes, signifying a 50%. That is half of the total number of votes cast yesterday. The total number of votes that were cast is 43,700 votes. So our viewer, that is what is happening in Kiambaa right now. And any moment from now, John Njuguna Wanjiku will be handed the certificate for being the MP-elect. And then later, we shall see him being sworn in Parliament, maybe some few weeks from now. Back to in studio. Thank you for keeping it. TV47. That has been the Kiambaa by-election coverage from Karori High School, which has been the main tallying center for the Kiambaa constituency by-election. My name is Mwangi Maina.
You are watching TV47, the home